Okay, I think we can get started. So, just before our speaker starts, we have a very short announcement by Connie Brum, who's a member of the League.
In case you don't all know, there's a primary election coming up on May 19th. I have a table set up in the back with voter registration information, how to navigate the primary information, some student-specific information. If you have any questions or you need information about that, please come see me before you leave. Thanks.
Thank you all for being here, especially on a wintry night. It's a little unseasonable, I guess, for us this year. It's nice to see some snow. So, my name is Chris Askew. I'm coming from College of Natural Resources at the University of Idaho. Tonight, we're co-hosting this talk with the League of Women Voters, and we're really thrilled to be working with them to bring Walt here. We actually learned about Walt through Lauren Finns, who's going to introduce him here in a second. But I just wanted to mention that we're trying to bring back some of the energy towards outdoor recreation, outdoor education, outdoor policy that Jim Fazio and some of the other folks who are here tonight stewarded within the College of Natural Resources and within the university a number of decades ago. So we're trying to bring that back, and the Outdoor Innovation Speaker Series is part of that effort. And so this is our fourth speaker. We try to do one every semester. We had Director Susan Buxton from Idaho State Parks here back in the fall. It's really great to have her here in town. And Walt is just an amazing person to have here as well. We've been spending time with him today. We got to bring him to Hayburn State Park so he could see some of the great treasures we have here in the state. So thank you so much, Walt, for being here. Thank you all for being here to learn from Walt and be inspired and invigorated by Walt's message. And thanks to Lauren for introducing him. So again, really appreciate y'all being here.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Lauren Finns, and I'm a member of the League. I'm on the Speaker Series Committee. And about 6 months ago, I was in Colorado visiting a friend, and she started telling me about this talk that she heard the night before with this amazing speaker who was talking about parks and public lands and how incredible he was. And the more she talked, the more I thought, I got to get this guy to Moscow to talk to us as well. And so my friend Judy knew the right people, who knew Walt, and the rest is history, and I got to invite Walt to come, so I'm really pleased to introduce him to you. Walt's an amazing, amazing professional, and an amazing person, and fun to be with. I've gotten to spend yesterday evening and today with him. So I can vouch for that personally. Walt is a retired park professional with a 43-year career in both National Park Service and Texas Parks and Wildlife. Walt began his career as a ranger naturalist in Yellowstone and went on to serve in key leadership roles across many iconic parks, including Yosemite, Grand Teton, Everglades, Mount Rainier. He was Chief Ranger of the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. This guy has credit. He later led the Southeast Utah Group of Parks and served as director of the Texas State Parks. So he's got an amazing background and experience. He's known for his expertise in law enforcement, search and rescue, fire management, and public land policy. And Walt now teaches at leadership institutes and universities, and as we'll see tonight, he frequently speaks on the history of America's public lands. So the title of his talk is The History and Future of America's Public Lands. Walt, we're so glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Is this going to work?
Raise it a little bit.
Okay, I think she's recording it for the news or something. Okay. I tell you, I don't like that thing that says no signal. Oh, that looks good. Good evening. It's good to be here. It's good to be in Idaho. I guess I'm not 100% sure how it all came together, but it did. I started flying into Boise. They picked me up and took me to Twin Falls, and we spent 3 days down there on a public land symposium with a bunch of speakers from Idaho. I got to meet some really wonderful people from Idaho and learn from them as well. I then went to Boise and spent a couple of days at Boise State. In both those locations, I got to visit with some classrooms, which is really thrilling to me to be able to spend some time with the younger people, because as you'll hear me say a couple of times tonight, this is their future, it's not mine. And I would hate for them to lose out on the experiences a lot of us have had that are in danger today. Then I went to Ketchum, Idaho, and had a good group at the library in Ketchum the other night. And then came up here, and I've been with classrooms today. And as we got, as Chris said, we went up to State Park, which is absolutely a beautiful park, the biggest one in the Northwest, apparently. And here we are tonight. And while it's raining and drizzly, and maybe that impacted some folks who had come, being from Texas and then living in the desert in Utah, I don't care what I was going to do that got ruined by rain. You never complain about rain in those places. So here we are, and I'm thrilled to be here. Look forward to talking to you. Lauren told you, and the program I'm going to give tonight is actually going to be a documentary now. I retired in Texas after being director down there. Dinked around Texas for a little bit and realized I'm missing the West. My granddad's ranch was gone, and in Texas, and I tell this story, there's almost no public land. And I couldn't throw my muzzle loader over and head over my shoulder and head out all day at daylight and come back at dark, sleep on a rock in the middle of somewhere that I didn't have to ask to worry about trespassing, or go ride my mountain bike or whatever it is. And I just missed that, so I came back out there. And then I hear people saying all kinds of crazy things about the public land, and I went, gosh, that doesn't sound right. So I told the story about researching that, and I put this together because the more I researched, the more I found there's a lot of people here that don't seem to have much affinity for the truth. And put this together and didn't know what to do with it. And the League of Women Voters in Southeast Utah asked me if I'd do a presentation for the Southeast Utah group of the League of Women Voters. They packed the library there in Moab, Utah, and they said, you gotta share this with other people, because a lot of us don't know this information. And so my whole goal is just that. For 7 years, and this is the 9th year I've been doing this, I've absolutely figured out how to wreck my retirement, because this is not a business for me. I don't get paid to do this. But I did a PowerPoint for 7 years, and then an organization in Utah said, we need to capture that professionally on video, illustrate it well, much better than you can do with a PowerPoint. And so now I introduce it, and then we watch this documentary, which is the same program, and then we have a question and answer. And I hope you got some good stumping hard questions, because I love it. Just really enjoy doing that. The examples in this are Utah, because that's where I was when I put it together. I've got a lot of the same information about Idaho. This is, I think, the 14th state I've worked in doing these presentations. So when I'm going somewhere, I look it up. For example, one of the things people said is all kinds of outrageous claims about what the Statehood Act said for Utah. If you hear any of that kind of thing in Idaho, you know what you do? Go read the Statehood Act. It's very easy to find out what is true and what is not. It's just making the effort to do it. And it says very clearly what the territorial government and the people in that territory, and this was part of the land that was won from, at least part of this state was won from Mexico. What was agreed to when those territories came into the Union. And we'll talk about that with Utah, but I've got those numbers for Idaho as well. It's fascinating information. And those of us that use the public lands, because all of you are public landowners, which is pretty cool and unique in the world, know, you ought to know what is true so that you can be ready to talk to somebody that's telling you things you know are not true. I don't come out against any particular use on the public lands. My program is not intended to be a political talk. It's intended to be an informative talk. And I want to keep it that way because I want to be able to talk to everybody. And so far that's working pretty well. You're welcome to use anything I have. There's a QR code there. I didn't put that together. My oldest daughter did. I wouldn't have had a clue how to do it. But they did that, did the website that'll pull up. And this presentation is on there and a lot of other things, including some interesting national podcast interviews that I've had with a number of organizations. I got another 5 or so to load, and I got some more scheduled to come. I'm taking a break from this for a while. I get home for 3 weeks. I got to be down to Grand Canyon on the 8th to rig boats at Lee's Ferry, and we launch on the Grand Canyon for 21 days. And I'll be the grandpa on the trip, but I can still row. Supper tonight. Keep moving till the wheels fall off. Don't ever quit. You have a choice. Anyway, with that, I'll see if I can make this thing run. And at the end, have some good questions. That's what I really love to do. So let's see if it'll work. Well, what do you think? Learn anything? Was that worthwhile? Been a journey for me, I'll tell you. I didn't know a whole lot of that stuff. You know, it's kind of interesting. First of all, two of those sections in the Utah Statehood Act are exactly the same in the Iowa Statehood Act. And you can look those up yourself. It says that what you get is all you get unless, in essence, I'm paraphrasing, Congress says otherwise. But if any land is sold here, you're gonna get 5% of it after the cost of the sale, and the federal government gets the other 95 when it's gone. Interesting fire. I saw a letter somebody gave me down at Twin Falls the other day from the governor of Utah to the legislature of Utah in 2024. And the governor said, you only gave me $40 million for fire in the state of Utah. I need $60 million. And by the way, in 2024, the federal government spent $350 million fighting fire. Think of any state. In your state, you know how many people are in this state? 2 million. That's the tax base that would have to eat that. There's no way a state, and a state cannot deficit spend, could eat that without having to sell the lands, and they would do it first. I've got a whole bunch of figures for Idaho that if anybody's interested, I'll be glad to share with you. But I'd like to open it up for questions, and if need be, I'll repeat them. This lady would like to be able to report on them. Who are you with, ma'am?
I'm with public or community radio here at the.
Okay, so speak up so she can hear your question. Anyway, I hope there's some good questions.
I've got a mic here for anybody that wants to ask a question. Dennis.
Well, you had a nice list of the multiple uses. I don't know what date it was, but at some point Congress amended the Forest Service Multiple Use Act and added a sentence to it, which says, I can quote it, the establishment and maintenance of areas of wilderness is consistent with the terms of this act. So wilderness is a multiple use. It's not wilderness or multiple use, which I still hear all the time. That's simply not true. It doesn't work that way.
That's absolutely correct. His comment was that there's been a piece added in the multiple use definition that includes that. It includes recreation too, which is what you often do. Multiple use does not mean on a given piece of land you have to do all things. It means that you look in the forest system overall, multiple use is an appropriate use as it is on BLM lands. But a given piece of land may have a higher and better use for oil development or whatever it is. Others might be for wilderness or recreation. You know, there's sections of land around Moab that are completely covered up with mountain bike trails. And that's the highest and best use of it. And it's also bringing a heck of a bunch of money into the area. You know, one of the things people think about is outdoor recreation is just people playing and having fun. Outdoor recreation is an absolutely huge economic benefit for places. And without comparing any of them, because I'm not arguing against any of them, outdoor recreation is bigger than most of the other multiple uses in any of the states. And you can go through mining, oil and gas, certainly grazing and all. Outdoor recreation in Idaho alone is between 6.8 and 7.3 billion dollars. You can think of how many people on 62% of your state is public land. There are guides and outfitters and that kind of thing that are making their land, and they're paying most often jacking up the economy in rural places. Grand County, Utah, Moab, where I live, the population is 7,900 people, not even 8,000 people. You know how many people come to Moab every year? 3 million. And they're not all coming to see Aunt Mildred. They are coming because of the parks and the public lands there, and they stay, and they come from all over the world. 80% or more of the economy in southeast Utah, where Senator Bennett said it's all over with. 3 million visitors is hardly all over with. It's huge. Brings a lot of money and a lot of tax base to that. On a national level, that figure, which is not all public land, obviously, because a lot of it's in the west, is $1.2 trillion. And again, that's from the Department of Commerce Bureau of Economic Analysis. It's real deal. And nationally, it's 5 million jobs. Utah last year set a record for $9.5 billion in outdoor recreation goods and services related to this, and about 73,000 jobs. That's a lot of people working, if you think about it. And if that went away, if these lands sold, all those people that were in that film, that when they filmed me doing that presentation, I was talking to Southeast Utah guides and outfitters. All those people in that room made their living taking mountain bike trips, four-wheel drive adventures, river trips, canyoneering, climbing expeditions, and that kind of thing. And if it became private, their business is over with, that's done. And Moab's not gonna have 3 million people coming, because whoever buys it is not gonna open that land for all of us to come in. They're gonna do it. This whole thing that Senator Mike Lee pulled a couple of, over last year, I guess it was, it got pulled out in part because your senators said, we're not gonna support it. And that's a good thing. And the only reason they came forward and said they're not gonna support it is why? You called them. They told me at that public land symposium, somebody in there said, most of these congressional offices, if they have a real hot issue and they get 4,000 or 5,000 emails or phone calls, and phone calls, unless you walk into the office, is the most effective way, because they log every one of them. They'll get your name, they'll get your zip code. Now they know you're a constituent. They'll ask you what your issue is and what is your perspective on that issue. And as these start pouring in, and the people down there in at CSI, whoever was given that program said they got 16,000 calls on this thing. And they have a formula that if they get 16,000 calls, that means that many more people are thinking about this and took the time to call. They go into the boss and say, we got something we better pay some attention to, people care. So some of these folks have taken a much stronger support, because as I understand it, polls suggest that about 96% of Idahoans don't want the public lands to go away. And the only people that can make them go away is who? Congress. And so if Congress knows you absolutely don't want that to happen, they're going to listen. You got at statehood, you got section 16 and 36. You got a total of 3.6 million acres given to you when you were, when the territorial government here that petitioned for statehood cut the deal with Congress to come into the nation, and you were the 43rd state in 1890, July of 1890. You got 3.6 million acres. At the same language in your statehood act, you're down to 2.5 now. So your state land people have sold 1.1 million. And again, that's not a bad thing, because that's what it's for. But it is not necessarily public. People say, well, I go hunt on state lands. Any of you hunt on state lands in here? Few of you know how come you get to do that? They take some of your hunting license fee, and the state Game and Fish pays state lands $367,000 a year to give you access to those state lands. Otherwise, you would not be going on there, because they have to generate funds for that. That's not unique to Idaho. That's true in Utah too. They do that to get us access to those state federal payments to Idaho. You got nearly $43 million paid to you in PILT money. That's payment in lieu of property tax. That's a pretty good chunk of money. Payment in lieu of property tax. I think the formula for that is wrong. And down at that public land symposium we did down in Twin Falls at CSI, there was a lady that's a public land rancher, and she's in a group of ranchers that are trying to work out cooperatively with other entities. And her point in this whole thing is that on public land ranching, we have got to start putting together a coalition of people that understand entirely what this is all about and how if we work together, we can do it better. Same thing with outdoor recreation users. If you're a hunter, a fisherman, a four-wheel drive user, a horse user, a mountain biker, a hiker, a peat bagger, a mushroom collector, a firewood cutter, don't pick at the other users. Hook arms, and we're much stronger together than we were otherwise. But what she was saying is on this PILT money, the formula is wrong because it gives you a percentage of money based on the acreage of federal land and the population. And she said the more people you have, the more money you get. She said it should be the other way around because a county that has lots of public land in it and doesn't have many people has a lot harder time of paying for things that a county with big population does. That is the kind of thing you ought to talk to some of your legislators about that would really help some of these rural places and encourage them, because they got to maintain roads and all that kind of thing, encourage them to want to bring outdoor recreation there. And a lot of ranchers, if any of you are in the ranching business, I don't have to tell you, it is not a lucrative business even if you own your own land. It is a struggle every year, whether you're a farmer or rancher, for all kinds of reasons. And some of those have gotten worse lately with some of the export issues that we have going now as far as sales to other countries. So outdoor recreation for some people that own a base property could be really helpful in them trying to do things to stay on the land, and outdoor recreation could be a possible help with that. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Kathy?
Thank you so much. This has been great. In the Idaho legislature right now, I haven't followed recently where this bill is, but it's HJR 10. It's a constitutional amendment they want to pass to prevent state public lands from being sold and change it so the first priority on those lands is not to maximize financial return. Does anybody here know exactly where that bill is right now? Because what if this were to pass, we could vote on this in November as a constitutional amendment.
This is state.
It's state legislature. Yeah.
But there's, because I understood your state senate just passed a unanimous resolution to not transfer federal lands out of federal ownership.
Oh, okay.
That's real good.
Okay. I haven't heard that.
I don't know
thank
about
you.
the state one.
It may be that took precedence over this one, and this one
If
took
you
the
different
job.
land,
Oh, would it?
yeah, because the state land is not the federal
Oh,
land.
okay, okay.
So I think you said state land, didn't you?
All right. Prevent state public lands from being sold off.
You know, that's gonna be an interesting legal question, because those state lands were given to you in the Statehood Act specifically to maximize the profits for that list of things that you probably basically the same that's in the Utah Statehood Act. Oops. Is that your recorder? It's okay. So you might check on that. They thought that the state representatives might not be a unanimous vote, but they thought it'd still be passed. And that's really good, if that's true. There was a question back here.
Ken?
Thanks for your informative presentation. What advice would you give those of us here to stay informed about public lands issues? What newspapers, magazines, websites, podcasts do you turn to from your little corner of Utah to stay abreast of what's going on in the rest of the country?
First of all, there's a lot of people working on this, or it wouldn't have been shut down like it has been so far. And one of the great things about this issue is it's nonpartisan. This isn't a Democrat issue, it's not a Republican issue. It doesn't matter what your political persuasion is. If you're any of those kind of public land users, when these lands go away, you got nothing. Well, you want to see what that looks like. Come to a place like Texas and just go try to do it. It's suffocating to me. I mean, it truly is. When I first got back to Texas, I was with some people from Nature Conservancy and Trust for Public Lands, and we were driving west to Austin, heading toward the hill country, heading toward Blanco. You know that country a little bit. We got to the top of the hill and said, "Walt, can you pull over?" Sure, pulled over. "Can we get out?" "Yeah." I said, "Now, doesn't that make you glad you came back to Texas?" I said, "It's a pretty view." They said, "Yeah." I said, "You see that borrow ditch and that fence? You see that borrow ditch and that fence? This is as far as I can go. I can't go anywhere that way. As long as I stay on the sidewalk or the street, I'm not trespassing." And I told him, I just came from a place that I could throw my muzzleloader over my shoulder and walk till I couldn't walk anymore, and I'd be on our land, and I didn't have to ask anybody if I'd gone out or hike or anything, so they need to go do that. What can you do? Talking to your legislature, again, calls are the best thing. If you have candidate forums, and the League of Women Voters sometimes does candidate forums, and the League of Women Voters, I hope you know this, this is a national issue for the League of Women Voters. This is a position that the League of Women Voters supports, keeping the public lands usable for multiple use and in federal ownership. And so those of you in here, how many of you are with the League? That's something that you hopefully are obviously behind if you're here, and I hope you do that, but it's a big deal. And another thing you can do is when you come to that candidate forum, ask each person, regardless of their political party, do you support keeping public lands in public hands? Yes or no? And if they start waffling on you, that's a no. And just make them state that in public and put them on the record. Let me show just one little quick blip. Another thing, I can't drag this microphone. Another thing that, let me just see if I can find this real quick. Another thing is young people. They're not going to see an hour presentation and just flock to go sit down and watch it. It's got to be fast. And I've had a bunch of young people that somebody hooked up with me. And I now have, not because I put it, an Instagram account called The Ranger Walt. And you can go look at it. But this is one of the kind of things that's on there that I'm encouraging anybody to do because it's fun. I've got a number that I did on the Green River when we rode the Great Esso last summer, and just interviewing. I said, Dave, over the next couple of days, be thinking, if you're willing to do this, I'm going to do a little 1-minute clip on you. Just say, I'm Dave. I grew up in San Francisco. I'm out here on the public lands. I love doing this. These are your lands, in case you didn't know it. You could be doing this too. Whatever you want to say. Here's one I did just to encourage that kind of thing, without. Hey y'all, this is Ranger Walt. I'm out on our public lands. Behind me are the Collegiate Peaks in the San Isabel National Forest. You and I own that, and this land I'm standing on, which is administered by BLM. There's folks trying every day to get them away from us. I really would encourage you to do a little video like I'm doing here with you today. Introduce yourself, maybe say where you grew up, and talk about why these lands are important to you. Share that with your friends and let them know there's people trying to get them away from us and they are focused on doing it, and that you guys need to defend them. This is your future. I'm an old guy, it's not my future, but it sure is yours, and it would be an irreversible tragedy to lose them. Call your congressmen and senators, tell them no way. And Other than that, get out and have fun on your land. See you next time. Wouldn't that be fun?
Show another one. You gonna show
Yeah,
another one?
to do that, yeah. Here's one that somebody, that I just filmed, I asked somebody to do, and they said, sure.
Hi, I'm Robin. I grew up in Moab, Utah, lived in Texas. Now I live in Munich, Germany, and I am back in the U.S. visiting family here in Colorado, out riding my mountain bike on my public lands here in Colorado. It's been great living in Germany. I think that's also afforded me the opportunity to learn how important this resource we have in the U.S. is. And when people ask me, what do you miss most about the U.S. and living there, I say the wilderness. And what I mean by that is these public lands, the BLM land, the Forest Service land, the national parks. I miss being out where I can go ride my bike, be by myself. In a lot of cases, you don't pay a fee, and you just have these amazing, incredible spaces that are nowhere else in the world. And so I'm here enjoying them, but I hope you also enjoy your public lands.
Less than a minute. And, you know, a lot of the young people in classes were, that would be fun. And I tell you, it's, I like doing it, it's fun. So hopefully you'll do that kind of thing and share them. And if you do, tag the Ranger Wall, because I want to share that with other people. Any last?
Other questions?
Hi, my name is Katie. I'm a student at the University of Idaho. And you mentioned how the United States has these kind of unique parks compared to the rest of the world. I know that other countries do have national.
Come to look at, and for them to take care of those people than shepherding a rich person who's just going to shoot them and be gone. Excuse me, and be gone. Mountain bike wreck. You know, there's hazards out there too, but still worth it. So does that answer your question? And we started it following the establishment of the National Park System. Now every state in the country has a park system, and the national system is a repository for things that are either on a very large region or nationally significant to us. States have more regional interest things in there. They complement each other. And now we got a system of county parks in a lot of places and city parks in a lot of places, which just enhance the quality of life for everybody. I'm really troubled right now with what's happening with the national park system, which was already understaffed. And to be whacking staff out of the national parks when 2 years ago set a visitation record of 332 million visits to the park system. It has a budget of $3.5 billion. It generates, according to the Department of Commerce, between $56 and $58 billion in economic activity. It is stupid business to whack the national park system. People come from all over the world. Remember my figures in Grand County, Utah, 3 million people coming there. These parks go away. I keep thinking, why would they do that? Well, maybe it's to transfer the operation to a corporation. A corporation to make money, to pay for 600 historic structures in Yellowstone, all the things that the park does, plus all the things that they do as a concessioner, plus pay their stockholders dividends and pay a CEO millions of dollars. You know what an entrance fee is going to be for you to get into a place like Yellowstone? Incredible. Unbelievable. And, the way the parks and the public lands work as far as outdoor recreation, and I hate the fact that they're going to start charging foreigners more money to come to the national parks. Nickeling and diming millions of foreign visitors come in here, making them feel like they're just getting cheap shot. When the money is not in the entrance station, the money is all the money they leave in the local economy there, that if you dissuade them from coming because of idiotic procedures like that, and they go elsewhere, those rural economies are going to find out good business proposition. So your state park system, if you fund it a little bit, it's gonna bring people to rural Idaho that wouldn't be coming there otherwise. So you need to really look at the economics of this as well.
Other questions?
Well, I can shed some light on.
Let me get the mic to you.
I was just gonna say I could shed some light on the constitutional amendment question that was brought up, if folks are interested, and while everyone's in the room. There were two constitutional amendments in the State House. One kind of saying the same thing. One died. The other is maybe dead, but still maybe on the table. And they would prevent the state from selling lands in the event of transfer from federal to state. However, they wouldn't necessarily maintain that mixed-use mandate, and they would really run a risk of bankrupting the state because the state's not set up to manage for mixed use, right? Like we have our Forest Service that has all those functions within it, but the state has all these different departments that collaborate well at times. But I think it would take some bureaucratic effort to really maintain that. So that's a little bit of context that I felt like maybe, does that answer your question? And that 111 did pass. That does say that we value our federal lands and, or is moving and value our federal lands, but I would say that our state legislators probably need our help as constituents to really understand what that means.
Are you gonna help?
Thank you.
Yes. And also, thanks for giving Backcountry Hunters and Anglers a shout out. My name's Ray and I work there, and we appreciate all the collaboration.
I'm a member too.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, other questions?
I talk more about going than I do anymore though. You know, kind of interesting, think about transferring it to state ownership. You know how much money the state of Idaho puts into the state park system as far as base operating funds from the legislature? 3% of the budget. So they're gonna take over, I bet you BLM operations in this state are at least 150 million. Forest Service is probably close to 100 million. Fire, I mean, the ludicrousness of the whole proposal is just incredible to me. And this notion that Mike Lee was gonna sell it for affordable housing, for who? You know, it would be bought by an individual or a couple of them that have more money that they could probably pull that out of their wallet and not even blink. And if you're a public land grazer on that 3 million acres, and you think you're gonna keep grazing on whoever bought that land, you're dreaming. If you went out there with your granddad and had generations of them going out 2 weeks early and setting up hunt camp, because you all have been there for generations hunting that same area, and you think you're gonna keep hunting, you're not. And, or your fishing spot, or where you cut your winter firewood in the fall, or any of that, it's over with. Once it becomes private, we are probably not gonna be invited in, almost for sure. So, man, we can't let that happen. That's the whole gist of this thing. You need to sit up. You know, there's people today that want you to sit back in despair. Don't do it. Now's the time. BHA and everybody else. BHA, National Wildlife Federation, well, a lot of those have been very vocal. And I'll get right to you, ma'am, in just a second. I was in Wyoming, and I mentioned this just a while ago. I was in Wyoming and had 2 days there. One, I did this the second day. But the first day, I was meeting with Arapaho and Shoshone Nation, Wilderness, Powder River Coalition, Nature Conservancy, Trust for Public, a bunch of conservation organizations. And they said, any last thoughts before we adjourn for today? I said, you should never ask me that. Yeah, I got some. I said, what is that? And I said, look around this room. It's all conservation people. I know what you think, and I agree with you. But if we keep picking at each other over, horse people don't like me on a mountain bike, hikers don't like to follow a horse up the trail, aesthetic reasons at least. And a lot of people don't like a side-by-side because they're noisy or whatever it is. Get over it. Those are all legitimate public land users. There's a few mountain bikers that don't stay on the trail, there's a few side-by-sides that don't stay on the trail and all that, but most people are legitimate, they don't want to tear up the countryside. I know that, I was a law enforcement officer for 20 years out there. And most people, if you explain that, they want to do the right thing. We keep picking at each other while they take the land away, you're gonna turn around one of these days and go, what happened? And what happened is we were picking on each other and not paying attention to what is important. So we ought to figure a way to lock arms with people that we might find out we have a lot more in common than we thought. And we might like each other, we might actually help the four-wheel drive community find quieter side-by-sides. If you put a lot of political pressure on there, who the hell knows? You don't know until you do something, but we really, BHA, we need to lock arms with people that maybe we don't think we got a lot in common, because we probably mostly do. And it needs to be delivered. Somebody asked me the other day, who puts the umbrella group together? I don't know, I don't have time to do it right now, but the agent, the organizations like BHA, Wildlife Federation, and all those kind of people, four-wheel drive organizations need to quit picking at nits and hook together and really make it clear. You have no constituency here that supports this. So, Lauren, oh, I'm sorry, yes ma'am.
Hello, my name is Robin Weldy, and I'm actually running for office, Idaho District 6 Senate. And one of my issues is the non-sale of public lands. I have a question for you. You just brought up Native Americans. We have Native Americans around here that have rights to those public lands. Do those treaties blockade in any way the sale of those lands, being that there's already?
They do not. Now, you're talking about the BLM, Forest Service, those lands, not Native American land, reservation land.
Outside, they have rights to outside.
It doesn't. They're not, there's nothing that I know of that the Native people have any say. Having said that, the Native people have some rights that, fishing and some other rights that the courts have given them. I've had that question a couple of times now. In fact, in that same Wyoming thing, an elder, Shoshone elder at the end of my talk that day, doing this talk, raised his hand, yes, sir. And he said, I really like that, but you did not address the Native American issue very well. And I said, and I appreciate that. You're right. Everything I talk about in here, I feel confident about. I feel like I can credibly speak about. For me to start sharing perspectives of the Native people, and there's a bunch of different Native perspectives on the same piece of land, I would get very quickly in deep trouble, not intentionally, but because I don't know. And I said, I would feel totally inadequate representing your views. And he just said, I accept that. So I don't do that. This other issue, I don't think it's ever going to make sense to transfer the lands back. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think most Native tribes are prepared to try to take over the management and the cost of all that kind of thing any more than a state is. But I think we need to sit down with Native people and see what they're thinking about and what can be accommodated, and bring a whole coalition of people together. The only way you fix things is bring all kinds of different people together and sit down and say, let's figure out how to do this. And if you're here and you're not going to be part of the discussion, you're going to need to get the hell out of here. We'll get somebody that represents your views that can be a productive partner in this system. And that's the kind of thing you as a legislator, good luck. Thanks for being willing to do that. Needs to really push. Another thing I would really love a lot of legislative and congressional staffers at the state and federal level to know what's in this video, because they're getting hit with all kinds of off-the-wall crap that sounds, because these people are, they'll twist pieces of the law to make it sound something different, and if you don't know, you can go down the road, and they got so many issues they're working on, they don't have time to go research a lot of that themselves. I had a young lady that's in one of the congressional delegation offices in Boise the other day. She came to it, and And, she said, I am gonna try to get this into congressional staffers. That is huge, if that's the case. If you get in there, share it with the other entities, because they just need to know. Most Idahoans don't want it to go away, but there's a lot of people that are trying to do it, and they don't tell the truth all the time.
I have just one more
Yes, ma'am.
comment, and it falls again on what you just said. My background is real estate, and they can put in the contract, we're going to give the state management of this land, and it never can be sold. It's a farce.
Yes.
It can be leased, it could be loaned out, it could be put in a trust, it can be liquidated in other ways.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We probably ought to, yeah.
Any last or any question? If not, thank you all.
Let's thank Walt. And thank you all for coming on behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Idaho Outdoor Recreation Group. And we'll see you next time. Oh yeah.
But no, this, I didn't do this, my daughter did. And this QR code will take you to the website. It's got this video and a lot of other things. You're welcome to use it. It's all yours. It's nothing copyrighted or anything. It's all yours. And the last thing, that one young lady on the mountain bike from Munich, I have to admit was my youngest daughter.
But we're not keeping it in the family. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.